property. My name is Mario Volpi. I am the Senior Vice President at Allegiance Real Estate. I've been working in real estate sector for coming up to 42 years this year, actually. 24 years in London and 18 years here in Dubai. I'm a regular contributor to a podcast called the Dubai Property Podcast. I have my own column in the national newspaper, which answers readers' questions on property-related issues, and I appear regularly on national radio here in Dubai. Lastly, a word about our company, Allegiance. We've been established since 2019, and we have offices in other parts of the world as well, such as Riyadh, Paris, Beirut, Sydney, and Tokyo. And we have a turnover in excess of 10 billion dirhams. So we're one of the most trusted real estate brokerages here in Dubai. Now, we wanted to bring you this webinar to explain exactly what is going on here in Dubai. As you are watching from the US, the headlines around Iran and the Middle East can sometimes, I would imagine, feel quite intense. But it's important to separate. It's important to separate the regional headlines from what's actually happening here on the ground, specifically in Dubai, where we are, and obviously we can tell you about Abu Dhabi and Ras Al Khaimah. And this particular webinar is about real estate, and we want to make sure that people understand that this isn't a market that as such is in crisis. It's a market that's actually adjusting, and it has to adjust. So what's actually happening on the ground? Well, I can tell you that day-to-day life is stable, believe it or not. It's fully operational. If we talk about the real estate sector, transactions are happening, despite the fact some people are trying to add in force majeure. We can tell you that the banks are working, the land department is working, deals are actually being done, handovers are continuing. There is no panic selling at all, I can guarantee that. And investors largely are holding on. When I said that we were safe, I have to admit that it was an incredible situation to understand exactly how prepared the UAE was when this all started on the 28th of February. We have never had to defend ourselves. We've always been, if you like, a neutral country, and have always benefited, if you like, from other people's scenarios and chaos. This time we find ourselves in the middle of it, and never once did I think that we would be the subject of projectiles and missiles. But like I say, we feel very safe because the government has proven that the air defense systems here have worked extremely well. I think the figure is something like 95, 96% of everything that was sent over to us has been intersected. So, on a day-to-day basis, we go about our business. We still go to the malls, we still go to work, and apart from obviously what we read and the alerts we have on our phones, you would think that nothing actually is happening. I want to bring some sort of reality, however, some reality check, and tourism is clearly where we're seeing the biggest impact. Travel demand has obviously softened in the short term due to the perception and obviously the caution. Hospitality and short-term rental segments are obviously feeling the pressure. And basically, we have to say, whilst it's not necessarily business as usual, it's business unusual, but it is controlled. So let's look at, I guess, what the media is saying and the reality. And I have to say, my perception is that the US media often groups the entire Middle East together, whereas the UAE operates with independent political stability. We have our own strong internal security, and we are pro-business with a global positioning as well. So I guess what you see on Fox News, CNN, New York Times, whatever is being reported is not necessarily what we're actually experienced here day to day in Dubai. And I think that's really, really important to stress, not just in America. I mean, it's happening in Europe as well. The reporting is a little bit over the top. And that's why we wanted to come on here to add a voice of calm in some respects, a voice of patience as well. But really, we are realtors. So, what is the property market actually doing? Well, believe it or not, the demand remains. All that's changed is the behavior. Buyers are actually more selective and decisions are actually more considered. Now, I talked about buyers. Who's actually buying? Well, I have to say it's a lot of end users because life, like I say, goes on here. So end users are relocating. We do have long-term investors still in the marketplace, and we have definitely high net worth individuals looking for opportunities. The market is split. Off plan, believe it or not, is still strong. You've seen reports perhaps of the figures coming out of the land department. One word of caution there, it would be interesting to see what those figures are in the coming months, because a lot of the figures that are coming out are from deals perhaps that were concluded and registered now, but actually begun a few weeks ago. But definitely, if the developer is strong, the confidence is very strong there as well. The ready market is driven by yield and end use. You may or may not know that Dubai is, and the wider UAE is famous for strong yield. Easily, we achieve 6, 7, 8% yields regularly, sometimes even up to 10%. And I'm not talking about benefits that developers are giving you. I'm talking about long-term rental are achieving these yields. The rental market itself, like I say, it remains strong in the long term. Short-term rentals are seeing some temporary softness at the moment. But even then, some people are moving into short-term accommodation because they're not quite sure what they want to do. Now, the big question is, why is it that, people aren't panic selling, buyers are still buying? Well, it's because the fundamentals are still holding strong. Safety, for example, the UAE consistently ranks among the safest countries globally. Now, I need to separate safety in two ways, external and internal. If I talk about internal safety, this is where the UAE has always been up there. Because you've probably seen those videos of people putting the keys of a Rolls Royce on the bonnet, walking away, and the car is still there. The car hasn't been stolen. Families are very safe here. Women can still come home late at night on their own and feel very, very safe. You go to a restaurant, for example, you need to go and visit the bathroom. You can leave your mobile phone, you can leave your wallet, the keys, visit the bathroom and come back and they're still there. The internal safety, nothing has changed, and we continue to enjoy that aspect. The external safety, obviously, I have to call the elephant in the room. It's not every day that we have missiles, sent to us, which, like I say, in the main are being intercepted, and any damage is literally down to sort of debris from interceptions. So, but that passes, because I keep saying this is not our war. This is unfortunately something that we're involved in purely and simply because of logistically where we are and what has happened and who we align ourselves with. But I maintain that the safety is there, and we as residents, we feel very, very safe here. And I can only speak for myself, and I'm sure Chinoy will also echo that. We talked about the fundamentals, why they're strong. Another reason is because of the infrastructure. Look, we have world-class airports. I know that obviously travel is a little bit stunted at the moment, and that's natural. I myself traveled to London only last week, and came back, left and came back, no problem. Routes are a little bit longer, so we don't have to travel across certain airways and routes. But the airports that we have, it's the world's busiest, and we're about to open up in the next few years an even bigger one in Al Maktoum International, which is going to have 5 runways. That is in preparation or for the growth that we still believe we're going to get. Our roads, the infrastructure, Etihad Rail, we've got flying taxis coming next year. Our digital infrastructure is all there as well. Our business environment is also top notch. We have, as you know, zero income tax. We have low corporation tax. Our ease of doing business is there. Free zone, they attract global companies. And of course, Dubai is seen as a global capital hub when it comes to finance between East and West, and continues to have inflows of wealth, talent, and companies. And the last thing I want to just mention on this is that the visas that were introduced, whether they were just 2-year visas or indeed the 10-year golden visa, which is a property linked residency. If you buy a property for 2 million dirhams, you get the 10-year visa. So all of this are the fundamentals that is keeping Dubai in the face of the world, really. And that's why so many people are still interested in what's going on here. You know, this is all strong for entrepreneurs, for for remote workers, for family offices. Everybody was relocating here, and understandably, there is a word of caution. But I have absolutely no qualms at all. Dubai will bounce back. This is just a temporary blip, as far as I'm concerned. And actually, on that, as I mentioned, I've been in Dubai for 18 years, and during that time, Dubai has actually experienced some stress points in the past, and we've come out the other side stronger. So the first thing that I experienced and Dubai has experienced is the 2008 global financial crisis, where obviously the market corrected heavily, which led to tighter regulations in real estate. We had stronger banking controls, more transparency. Even the real estate sector benefited from what happened back in 2008, which then lasted a couple of years. That was a problem again globally. Then fast forward to 2019, when Allegiance was founded, and we had COVID. That was a short-term slowdown in transactions. But then that was followed by record-breaking growth cycles, because the UAE was one of the first to fully open, I believe, after or with Israel as well. And I think we were only in lockdown for actually one month. So if you look, with every crisis that Dubai has had to deal with, we've had a reset, and then has led to stronger growth. Obviously, this is slightly different and remains to be seen, obviously, how long this lasts. But like I say, I have no qualms at all, or in the slightest, that Dubai will come out of this stronger. So, what is the investment strategy right now? Well, this is a selection market. It's not a speculative market anymore. People will have to focus on areas such as, prime location. They'll have to work on stronger developers. They have to look at income generating assets, which obviously is going to lead to greater opportunities for everyone as well. Because actually, in a sort of a weird way, and I can only speak for myself here, if we talk about real estate, in a sort of a weird way, what is happening to us is going to lead to less competition. There were too many agents, there were too many developers launching, and in fact, buyers or investors had to buy property in a way that was very, very strange to a lot of people. Many times I mentioned on my podcast that people had to act very quickly. They had to put expressions of interest down and sort of buy properties half the time. They didn't even know that what they were choosing. They just wanted to get to that. And often that led to FOMO and people making decisions for the wrong reasons. I think this marketplace will sort the men from the boys. So investors will have a greater opportunity to really do their due diligence about the developer, the project, the master community, and also the unit in itself, the floor, if it's an apartment, the view, that kind of thing. So, like I say, in a weird way, it's going to bring some clarity and it's going to bring some calmness to the market, and something I think that was needed. If I had a choice, I would have wanted that, but not the way it's being delivered right now, because obviously nobody wants to go through what we are going through. And I stress that what we are going through, it's obviously not nice. And as we're going through it, it's a period of uncertainty. But I maintain we have been here to a degree before, and we have come out. It is not going to last forever. And honestly speaking, you will see Dubai and the wider UAE will come out of this stronger. So just to conclude, the UAE has established itself with a global reputation for stability, for speed, because we're always one of the first to actually come out of things, and we are very, very adaptable. We are at the moment in a moment where headlines are obviously very loud, but the fundamentals are louder, as I've mentioned. And historically, it is the investors who understand that difference. Those are the ones that win. So I shall now hand you over to Chinoy, who will drill down in greater detail, perhaps emirate by emirate, Dubai, Ras Al Khaimah, Abu Dhabi. These are the emirates that we kind of work with. Exactly what is happening, perhaps on a more micro level. Like I say, if you have any questions, please either write them down, or at the end, when Chinoy's finished, we will invite you to raise your hand. And it would be nice, actually, if we could hear you ask the question, and we'll open it to the floor. So I hope that's helped. It's just touched a little bit. There's much, much more to say. And thank you for listening. And over to you, Chinoy.
Thank you so much, Mario. So, Mario, very interesting point to pick it up from where you left off, the headlines making the noise. It's absolutely true, the kind of situation this country is in right now. And it's a one of a kind situation because, as you rightly said, UAE has seen it all, from the financial crisis the to COVID, and who thought that we would be in the middle, or in the middle of a situation where we are in the middle of a war. Well, I mean, just to add on to one point, Mario, what you were referring to, like this war between Iran and Israel, is just not new. It's been going on for the greater part of last year as well. But it only got the world's attention when they involved the UAE in it, and especially Dubai. So that's where the headlines started to make noise. Otherwise, everything was just a background noise. A lot of people were emphasizing on it, but it did not get the global eyeballs. So that just goes to show that how powerful and how magnetic is the entire ecosystem of UAE and Dubai as a city. So now the situations that we are in, it's a very interesting situation when we talk about the transactions. Um, the headlines are saying that the market has crashed. So let's first understand that, has the market really crashed or not? Because the headlines say that the market in Dubai has crashed by 31%. So I always recommend my team, the people around me, and our clientele that do not just rely on the headlines, go a step closer, click on it, and actually read through it. And when you actually do that, that's where the real magic happens. That's where you understand that it's not actually the Dubai real estate market that has gone down. It's actually the Dubai real estate index. And when you talk about the index, in the index, you have the top three real estate stocks. Now, if we understand about the stock market, I mean, I see 60 avid investors that have joined us today. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows that real estate and stocks, they work on a very different sentimental level. I mean, stocks can crash in a day. I mean, a stock can go 60% down in a day. It's highly volatile asset. At the same time, real estate is not. Real estate, you always can hold, you can wait, you can watch the market, and it's up to you to decide, do you want to sell at a lower price or a higher price or not? It's not under the influence of what is selling around you completely. So people tend to hold real estate, and that is exactly what is happening right now. We have, the good thing is that we have not seen that the transactions have completely stopped, because if that was a scenario, then that's a situation that we could be understanding that it's a big worry for us. But for now, there is no transactions that have actually stopped. To name a few and to put a number on the transactions, in the last 25 days, just the Dubai real estate market saw 12,500 transactions. And that's like 480 transactions per day. Now, 480 transactions per day. Yes, as Mario pointed out, and he brought a very good point on the table, that these transactions were actually happened before the war, and now they're getting registered in the land department portals. But we also need to look from the other side of the coin, that the buyers also had the option to exit because they had not signed the reservation forms or their SPAs. So they had the option to cancel, but they did not. They went ahead with it. So 12,000 avid investors gave the confidence to this market, which comes back to the same point, which I would not like to repeat, which is the fundamentals, which Mario very, in a very good way, he put it out in utmost detail, that why are the people still investing or will choose in future to invest in this UAE ecosystem. So that being said, Abu Dhabi as a market, I think in the last 1 week did around 1 billion dirhams of transactions, which was majorly fueled by the top two government developers there, which is Aldar and Mudon, who had different clusters of launches in Tara Parks, in Muhera, and then they had the Rose, Sadiat Island, Yas Island. So a lot of demand for the global capital for Abu Dhabi is there, and which clearly translates into the transactions that have happened in the last 1 week. Overall, March, I think Abu Dhabi is going to be finishing the month on a transaction value of 1.8 billion dirhams, which is definitely a phenomenal number. We cannot compare Abu Dhabi to Dubai because Abu Dhabi as a market is works in a very controlled way. Let's say if in Dubai you have 300,000 apartments sold in a year, Abu Dhabi only has around 70 to 80,000. So that's the difference in terms of the transactions and the supply that is released. So the supply is very controlled and it's very government backed. It's not very private developer led like Dubai. So two different markets, but in that market also where the supply is so controlled, I would say Abu Dhabi has done phenomenal transactions, which again goes to show that the investors are not backing out. Talking about going north of Dubai, talking about Ras Al Khaimah, the numbers are staggering. In March itself, Ras Al Khaimah is closing around 2.5 billion dirhams. So these numbers are not just some numbers, which investors can put into a speculative market. As Mario said, this is the fundamental driven market. Every emirate has its key backing, key master plans. If Dubai has the 2030 and the 2040 master plan to make the population reach 5.4 million by 2033 and 7 million roughly by 2040, then Abu Dhabi has its own master plan. And at the same time, Ras Al Khaimah, which is fueled by the biggest announcement of the Wynn Casino and resorts, which is coming up on Al Marjan Island, which has seen the transactions increase year by 300%. So anything that happens in UAE is very well planned. And the global capital, sometimes we get asked this question that where is this money coming from? I mean, just like every other market in the world, we have three different classes of investors. We've got the institutional investors, we've got the retail investors, and then we've got the end users. So there is a market for everyone. And have the institutional investors back down? Again, if headlines are making noise that the market has crashed, then there are also headlines which are also talking about Blackstone, a very reputed company from United States, recently invested $250 million. This was just a headline 2 days back into UAE. So if the potential is not there, then the investments would not flow. And going back to the point where Mario was talking about safety, definitely that's a very, very big driver. That is also one of the reasons why I moved from my country to UAE, is because the amount of freedom that you get. And when I talk about freedom, I do not talk about freedom from the perspective of you can do whatever you want, but the freedom in actually living your life is called something like safety. So which definitely a lot of other countries lack. I mean, me as a tourist also, and I'm sure anybody who lives in UAE, whenever you travel outside, you just have to put your guard back on. But in UAE, you can absolutely be free. So the fundamentals are definitely strong for this market. The transactions are happening. And a lot of questions that we also are seeing from the investors, those who have bought before the war versus now, what they're trying to understand from us is, yes, it's a tricky situation. What is going to happen to my property? I mean, is my property safe? Will the developer not declare bankruptcy, or will he not run away? So, I mean, there's another statistic for everybody to understand that not everybody can be a developer in UAE. In order to be a developer in UAE, you need to have three things. One, let's say you're building a project of 1 billion dirhams. You need to transfer 30 to 40% of the project value to the government as a bank guarantee. And then only you can start the sales. Then only the UAE government gives you the license to sell. Otherwise, you're not approved by the RERA authority here to sell. That's point one. Point two, any money that you pay goes into the escrow account. So it's not something for the developer to access, take, and run away. So they cannot leave your project and run away with your money. So why are these rules and regulations here? Because UAE has learned as a market. All these mistakes were there back in 2010, 11, 9, 10, 12, 13 also. And we have learned from the market. We have learned from the global mistakes. And that is where we have evolved to a point where the market is stable, regulated, and that is the reason why the global capital is coming in. Talking about COVID, I think it's a very big point that people ignore. Yes, I'm actually right now speaking from DIFC, which is the Dubai International Financial Center, which is home to 136 Fortune 500 companies in the world. The likes of HSBC, Standard Chartered, Citibank Global, all the big American giants are literally in the vicinity, 5-minute walking vicinity where I'm sitting and taking this webinar from. This was one of the areas which was the target for Iran as well. Let me touch upon a point. Back in COVID, when I was here in Dubai, every breath felt like a missile in your nose. You could just die, you know? So it was that scary for people. But right now, the chances and the odds of people actually feeling unsafe is definitely lower, because the residents here, people, those who have seen COVID, people, those who have seen, like Mario himself, he's been here 18 years. I mean, 42 years in real estate. I mean, he's never going back. Mario, tell me, are you even planning to go back to London? You only went back because maybe your wife called you. That's why.
I went back for a holiday. Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
But people were saying to me, and again, talking about what the public and the perception is like, why are you going back? You're going back to a war zone. And I was trying to explain to them that it isn't a war zone, despite what the headlines are saying. And that's why we want to get that clarity out to everybody. So yeah, you're right. COVID actually was a much scarier time because you didn't know if you were going to live, because you didn't know about this disease, how strong it was, and all you saw were these numbers of people dying on those charts, the John Hopkins chart, if I remember
yeah,
rightly, or whatever it
yeah,
was called. Every day so many people were dying. I know a lot of them were elderly, but there was also a lot of young people dying as well. So that was a different time, and that was very much more the unknown. For me now, yes, we're going through something that is not nice, and it's also a bit of an unknown. But if I tap onto my experience, I know we're going to get through this, and I know Dubai actually will learn from this. And so going forward, nobody is ever going to touch us because we have demonstrated that we have probably the best air defense systems in the world, something we didn't even know we had. And that's
Absolutely. I
another
think
thing really important.
when was the last time that anybody knew about what was the Patriot missile or what was the THAAD system? But now here we are. Everybody is a defense expert all over the world. So because it's just how strong the magnetism of UAE is. Now, before we start the Q&A, just one point that I want to also touch base upon is where do we see the market going from here, right? And how is there actually distressed deals in the market? Because this is one of the biggest questions, and I'm sure somebody has already written it in the chat, and I'm sure everybody will have questions. So first, let's understand what is a distressed deal. A distressed deal, by definition, means something which is available below the original price. So if something was launched, if a property was launched in 2020 for $1 million, and now you are able to acquire it after 4 years for, let's say, $800,000, that's a distressed deal. But if some property was bought in the same time for $1 million, 2020, and in 2026, the value is $3 million, but you can today in the market buy it at $1.5 million, that's called an BMP, which is the below market price deal. So it's very important for all our investors to understand that what are the terminologies. Not every deal is a good deal, because there could be a deal available in the market right now, which maybe some realtor might share with you and say, hey, you know what? I'm getting you a deal for 20% below the market price. What about if you do your due diligence, and 95% of the times you'll find out that that deal was available at minus 10% in a healthy market, in a pre-war market. So what gives you the assurance that it is an actually liquid deal? You will actually transact at the original price and make your 20% margin. So again, and this all the way connects back to what Mario was mentioning to the tier one developers, tier one locations, prime locations. If you're buying with the right developer in the right location, this is where you need to be taking advantages of. A minus 20% deal might not be as good as something that you buy, let's say, 20% below the market price. Because then when the market gets back up, there are more buyers for deals like that, and you can easily transact at a 20% profit and make your money versus the capital deployed. So this is very important, and I'm sure everybody is on the lookout now. Are there any deals like this available in the market? Let me explain you. Yes, there are. And this is where we as Allegiance, with a network of 220 agents in 8 different countries, with access to more than 2,000 of investors in our portfolio, we do have access to these deals within our ecosystem. But if we expand our reach and we go into the market, definitely deals like this exist. Now, why do these deals exist? You can also ask us and say that you just said that tier one developers hold their value. Now, as I said, there is a lot of different kinds of investors in the market: institutional investors, retail investors. All these properties, they're available on a payment plan. So a lot of people leverage the payment plan. So in this kind of advantage, in this kind of a market, when they have to pay for their next installment, they might let one of their properties, which they bought, let's say in bulk, go for an original price, or let's say 20% below the market price, if the actual market price is 50 to 60% above the market price. So these are the kind of deals that you need to be looking for in this market, because in this market, cash is king. The market that we are in right now. Is off-plan a good investment in this market? Definitely it is, because earlier in a pre-war market, if you were going to a developer's office and knocking on their door, you had to stand in the queue outside to even knock the door. But now in this market, you can actually enter their office, you can actually sit on the table, and you can open a conversation for a deal. I'm not saying that there are discounts available in the market. Please do not misunderstand that. But what I'm trying to say is that developers are flexible. Developers want to make deals, because it's not because they're not selling. Yes, there is a pause in the market. It's not a stop. And to honor any client coming in during this time, developers respect here in UAE, and they're willing to offer them that advantage to be transacting at this time. So this is how the current market scenario overall is looking at, from a secondary market point of view, from ready homes to off plan, which is under construction homes. The demand remains strong to the underlying fact that the fundamentals are strong. The market will definitely bounce back. It has not stopped, it has just slowed down. We all were used to how fast the market moves here. And now what we are looking at is a little bit of a slowdown, which in my opinion is slightly still better, because earlier, Mario, you can also say we didn't have time to breathe. Every day we had 10 back-to-back meetings. Now at least,
Exactly.
we can spend some time with our families as well. Our families are not complaining us that, you know, where is the time
Well,
flying by? But
I
here we
did
are.
actually say that in a weird way, this is actually, I'm kind of glad that it's in a weird way, it's happening, just not the way we're having to get there, is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, this is not what how we wanted it to happen, but yeah, absolutely. So we are open to questions now. I see some questions. If anybody has a question, you can raise your hand, and then we'll take the questions from the chat. So once you raise
Shanoy,
your hand,
if you look, the first question came in from Salim Ali, and it says
okay,
here, can you share some details about six family homes and apartments of, I would imagine that means range,
range. Yeah,
rather than rage, they are available. What kind of visas do you need? Well, from
let me
my
take that
point of
one.
view, if I just talk about the visas first of all, uh, you know, when you buy a property here in Dubai, there are two types of, well, there's many types of visas, but two main types of investor visas. One is the 2-year investor visa, which is renewable every 2 years. That one, if you buy a property that is worth 750,000 dirhams, will attract that investor visa. You can then open a bank account. You can also sponsor your family, etc. But the one thing with that one is that you would have to come to Dubai and spend at least one day every 180 days. So with that one, in a year, you would have to come to Dubai at least for 2 days. The other one, which is the most popular one and the one that actually gives the most benefits, is the golden visa. And the golden visa, you have to buy a property at 2 million dirhams, where again, you get all the benefits. But the beauty here is that for those 10 years, you don't even have to set foot in Dubai at all. You can just own a property. And if it's an investment, you can arrange for it to be managed, rented out, etc., and just collect the rent without having to do anything. So that's the one that's the most popular. Now, is asking about sharing details about family homes and apartments that are available. I mean, I'm not quite sure what that question is about. I mean, we have many, many different zones. You, as a foreign national, can buy in freehold areas. That includes myself. Unless you are Emirati, there are only certain areas of Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Ras Al Khaimah that you can buy. Although they have expanded out, and that was ever since from 2002 onwards that happened. In the past, obviously, you couldn't. There are certain pockets of areas where only what I would call local or GCC nationals, these are nationals from Bahrain, Oman, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, etc., can buy. Though they can buy in those areas just like Emiratis can, expats cannot. So generally speaking, you can buy in freehold areas. And we have areas of houses, and we have areas where mainly apartments. And as I say, if you went for a visa, an investor visa of 750, you can get a renewable 2-year visa or a 10-year visa at 2 million dirhams.
Yeah. I think I have an interesting question, Mario, that I picked up over the chat.
Yeah,
It's from Rakia Ben Haseen.
yeah.
Rakia says, after the crisis for a one bedroom in Dubai Hills, do you think it's better to rent it as a holiday home or as yearly rent? Very good question, Rakia. I think Mario, I'll take this one, and it's
Yeah.
a pretty easy one. I think yes, right now, tourism has definitely taken a hit. I think in terms of nationalities, Dubai Hills is a phenomenal community. It's a complete ecosystem of live, work, play. You've got the mall there, Dubai Hills Mall. Um, you've got the offices, the MR offices there. You've got the residential there. You've got 100,000 square foot beautiful park. It's one of the. It's located on the Al Khail Road, which is one of the best roads to connect you through entire Dubai. So I think what you can do, Rakia, right now is if you are not under a yearly contract right now, and if your property is available to rent, let's say from tomorrow, I think you should pivot towards an yearly rental model that will do two things for you. One is it will secure your yearly income, and you should look for a tenant who is actually employed nearby in an MR Business Park office. Because in that MR Business Park office, you will find stable companies who will not fire their employees and they will lose their jobs. And then you can have the tenant coming back and giving you the headache that, you know what, now I want to cancel and I don't want to continue. So all the companies that are there in that Dubai Hills MR Business Park, they're very stable, big companies. Because let's just say, I mean, the reason why we know it is because the rents of those offices are very expensive. I mean, they rent for 500 to 550 dirhams per square foot. That's like 2 million dirhams a year. So if somebody can pay 2 million dirhams a year, then definitely they have that capacity to hold their employees and not let them go. So for the next 1 year, till the tourism completely bounces back, which it was before until 28th of Feb, I think you should give it on an yearly rent and make sure that you have a stable income coming in. And then after that, you can always pivot to a holiday home. I hope that answers your question, Rakia.
And definitely, I would echo what you've just said there, Chinoy. Now, the next question is from Joy Deb. Can you please talk about the percentage of investors versus owner occupiers in a typical building? Now, that's a really loaded question as well, because are we talking about today? Are we talking about last year? And when you say a typical building, uh, there is no such thing as a typical building because they're all in different zones. So, for example, if you are in an area like where I am, I'm close to Dubai Marina. I'm near to the beach, so a lot of the buildings that are here were either holiday lets or people who obviously wanted to have that sort of holiday vibe. And when you have something, say, like Dubai Hills, there are more owner occupiers than there would be, for example, investors owning properties where they don't live in them. So to answer that question carefully, you'd have to separate out or segregate out, I think, where you're talking about. Of course, there are many people who own properties who are what I would call absentee landlords. That they don't live here. That's been the beauty about Dubai. It's been an amazing place that sold itself well on the world stage. And of course, people saw exactly the returns and the benefits of owning property in Dubai, and therefore, they've gone ahead and bought them whilst living still in America and Europe, in the UK, etc. Obviously, we have. I'm not sure what we have now because the statistics on the population is something that doesn't come out that often. But we hit over 4 million residents in Dubai alone. Sometime, I think it was around November, December last year. And in fact, Abu Dhabi hit that mark before we did. So there were many people who were needing accommodation. So I think at the beginning, when Dubai first opened up, I think there were more investors than owner occupiers for sure. That obviously grew from the point of view of owner occupiers, started to catch up with the investors. But we don't actually have a statistic that gives us that answer, but we can probably have a guess depending on where the actual buildings are. So I know that's not probably the exact answer you're looking for, Joy Deb, but hopefully that's helped a bit. Chinoy, you want to do
I
the
think
next one?
Yeah, and to Joydeb's question, just to have a fair share of understanding, as of now, let's say by 2025, the market stood at around 70 to 30%, 70% still being investors and 30% being homeowners. But the good thing is what we have seen that 5 years back or 10 years back, it was 90-10. So now we are seeing a major shift in homeowners coming into the market. And this has primarily been after COVID, because COVID was the real pivot from where people actually decided that we would move to UAE. because the way the entire um, crisis was managed by UAE is where the entire opinion reshaped. The tourism was here. 2021 New Year, people celebrated in Dubai because Dubai was the only city that opened its border. So after that, the entire shift happened, and we saw a lot of influx of homeowners entering into the market. So I hope, Joydip, that helps you. I think this is another very interesting question from an anonymous person here. How much percentage short-term rentals versus long-term rentals? Isn't the short-term rentals getting a big hit because of less tourists coming anytime soon? Well, that's a great question. Mario, I'll take this one for
Yeah.
the anonymous attendee. Great question. And to answer that question, anything that I say is going to be very data backed because at Allegiance, we also have a in-house property management company. So, for example, if you were to buy a property with us, we would manage that property for you. We have an advanced system of a mobile application and a website where we give you a username password where you can check every day how much your property has been rented out for. And based on that, we are currently managing our company, which is called A Living, is also managing more than 100 plus properties in entire Dubai, in the prime areas, in the family driven areas, and in the touristic driven areas. In fact, one of my investors' property is also managed by our company. So I have currently listed my investor's property in a very high tourism driven area, which is called MR Beachfront. And there we have a property listed on short term rentals. Short-term rentals usually does not mean daily check-in and daily check-out. When we talk about short-term rentals in Dubai, we see a trend of people renting out a property for 3 months, 4 months, because before people decide completely to move to Dubai, they want to get a taste of the life. Because coming in as a tourist and coming in as a permanent stay are two different things. So, yes, right now, I would say since the tourism has slightly slowed down because of what's been going on, the short term rental market has taken a hit, but I would not say that it has taken a lot of hit. Because, again, as I said, another market and the kind of people that work on short term rentals is, for example, anybody who comes new and gets a job in UAE, he cannot go and rent on an yearly basis straight away because he needs an Emirates ID for it. So what does he do? He goes into a property and rents it for a short time, 3 months, 6 months till his probation is finished. So a lot of working class people also use the short term rental market. So, and why we are we saying this? Because we analyze the profile of the people that are using our properties. We understand their pain points. We understand our customers. And based on that, we are able to provide you with these insights. So, yes, to answer your question, it has taken a slight hit, but it's not in a crisis.
Okay, looking at the time, we've only got 7 minutes, and I've just realized we've got so many questions. So thank you very much for answering, putting these questions down. So let's try and rapidly get through those. Marilyn says, thanks for the update. I'm a realtor in New York. You say you have the best air defense. Do you have access to US military help, and what areas should we be marketing in Dubai? Well, as far as I'm concerned, we do have the best air defense because I didn't even realize exactly what we did have until we had to use them. So, from my perspective, and again, everything I've said today is my own opinion, and obviously we do have that freedom of speech here as well. So, my opinion is that we have the best air defense. Do we have access to US military help? I don't believe so. Obviously, we have bought military equipment, I would imagine, from the United States, especially these air defense systems. So you also have good ones. And what areas should we be marketing in Dubai? Now, if you're talking about which areas as a realtor in New York selling property, perhaps here in Dubai, well, Dubai is a beautiful place from north, south, east, and west. It's very difficult to talk briefly now about where to focus. I mean, I don't know whether you've even been to Dubai and to actually see, but we've got what we call the eighth wonder of the world in Palm Jumeirah. Now we've got the second eighth wonder of the world in Palm Jebel Ali, which is double the size. We have Dubai Islands, which is another area that's the other end of Dubai. which obviously is going to be the next big thing. Downtown is amazing, but Dubai Hills, as Chinoy says, is great. We have amazing villa communities. And like I said before, our infrastructure is there. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. So to say where to be marketing, I would just say Dubai and see what your client wants to do. And anything you need, just reach out to us and we'll be able to sort of help out there. Mr. C,
Mario,
go ahead.
I'll take a very interesting question and I'll combine two questions into one, just in the interest of time.
Yeah.
It says, how soon can the paused Mr. C, NYC says, and I'm assuming Mr. C, Mr. Cipriani, one of my favorite projects in Dubai, and I'm
Maybe not.
literally, it's one of my favorites, so I don't doubt that. Give me a shout, Mr. C, if you mentioned Mr. C as Mr. Cipriani. So, all jokes apart, reading your question now, how soon can the pause process be restarted once the war is over? And are the force, and Syed Rahman says, are the force majeure clause being honored for people who are walking out of a transaction? So, okay, Syed, I'll take
But
your.
that started prior. Remember that.
So, force majeure in the clause, like as per what we have understood from the developers, is that either it has to be in a state of emergency, an act of war, or an act of nature. In the current scenario, nothing applies because the government here in UAE has not declared a state of war, has not declared a state of emergency, unlike the situations back in Iran or Israel and other different countries. So the force majeure clause is technically not applicable in situations as of today. But obviously, it's on a case to case discussion with a developer where, let's say, you feel a little uncertain in terms of continuing your investment. And in these uncertain times, you do not want to be diluting your liquidity. You can always reach out to your real estate agent who can connect you with the developer and open conversations for cancellation, maybe. But again, that is at the sole discretion of the developer. It is not something that your real estate agent or the company that you dealt with have any say in it. It is between the developer and you. And to answer Mr. Cipriani's question, how soon can the paused process be restarted once the war is over? So just to let you know, every project in the entire UAE, from Abu Dhabi to Dubai to Ras Al Khaimah, everywhere the constructions are ongoing. It hasn't stopped. The developers are building day and night. So everybody's going to work, just like me and Mario are working on a Saturday evening here. Everybody is at work. We drive, we sit in our cars, we drive to office every day. So life is as normal as it is. So it's not like any developer has paused their project just because of the war. The war, again, I would want to reiterate, and I think Mario has also put light on it multiple times. The war is between Iran and Israel. The war is not between UAE and Iran. Yes, the US bases are being targeted, but for the residents, the life is as normal. There is nothing in terms of or any missile that has actually hit Dubai or UAE. Yes, there has been debris incidents for which the government authorities have taken swift actions. Mario, do you find any other interesting question here?
Yeah, yes, I can actually very quickly go through two. It is for Reki again. Is it better than short-term rent if the apartment is furnished? Furnished for short-term, it has to be furnished. So that's a quick one. Yes. And another one, anonymous. What happens after 10-year visa expires? Do you get subsequent 10-year visa? Well, the 10-year visa, just like the 2-year visa, is renewable. And the only criteria is that you must have still the property or have the value of a property of at least 2 million dirhams. So, for example, if you have three 2 million dirham properties, let's say, you choose to sell two of them, you still retain your 10-year visa because you have one at 2 million. As long as you have a 2 million dirham property in your name during that period of 10 years, it's just renewable. Now, if you were to sell that property, you can only sell it by then revoking your visa. You will not keep the visa if you do not have that property. This one is a good one
Gotcha.
for you quickly. From Mustafa Rashid.
I
You have
think
1 minute.
Mario, let's answer the questions. As an existing investor from New York that made an off-plan investment purchase 2 years ago in Ras Al Khaimah, would you be able to provide some insights as how my investment is safe and what measures are in place? Great question, Mustafa. And I think your and Joydub's question is quite similar. If my building unit gets damaged during the war, is there any insurance? So great question, guys. In order to answer it in a very simple way for you, every project during the construction phase, these are the UAE real estate guidelines. Every project during the phase of their construction, in the process of their construction, has to be insured by the developer or the contractor that they appoint. So this is usually called the car insurance, which is called contractor all risk insurance. So no developer can build any project which is not insured. And what are the things that are covered? Let's say, God forbid, but tomorrow, if there is a debris that falls on the construction site, all the cost will be paid by the developer or the contractor. It is not paid by you. You do not have to pay any damage cost. Is the project going to be delayed because of that calamity or that uncertain situation? For sure, yes. In terms of your SPA that you signed, which is the sales and purchase agreement, it clearly also states that every developer is allowed to delay a project maximum up to 12 to 24 months. Now, this buffer is not taken because the developer purposely wants to delay. It's taken because, let's say, an uncertain situation comes up, a financial crisis comes up, a war comes up, a natural disaster comes up. So in that kind of a scenario, the developer always keeps a 2 years of buffer so that they can recover back. So it's not developers want to delay the projects, because developers actually want to deliver the project faster to you, because your money is going into the escrow. If they don't deliver faster to you, then they do not get access to the cash that you have been paying for the last 4 years in an under construction property. And they need that money so that they can go and buy more lands. They can go and build their next developments and deliver that as well. So I hope I have answered two of the questions. I think I've answered Joyteb. I've answered Mustafa.
Very
Sorry, Mario.
quickly answer anonymous attendees one. Let me see. Can you hear me? Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
yeah, I can hear you, Mario, now. Yes, I can
Yeah,
hear
I
you.
was saying if I can answer the anonymous attendee one, it says very
Sure.
informative webinar. Thank you. Where would be the right location in today's market to invest 600,000? I would imagine that's dirhams, not dollars, even if it can be a studio or one bed, or do I have to invest more, and how much should I bump up investment? He's saying he's looking somewhere in JVC. Honestly speaking, I think if you're looking for capital appreciation, I would actually not necessarily look at JVC, although JVC is an amazing area. I would see if you can extend that 600,000 a little bit, maybe go up to maybe 900,000, and look in an area known as Jumeirah Garden City. Now, this is an unknown area, formerly known as Satwa. It sits literally just behind Sheikh Zayed Road. It is within walking distance to 3 metro stations. It's across the street of Sheikh Zayed Road to the Museum of the Future. It is right next door to the DIFC, and the DIFC is also going to have an extension to it. And a lot of people that work in those offices in the DIFC will need to live somewhere, and Jumeirah Garden City will be that place. In the future, Elon Musk has also started an agreement with his own boring company and the Dubai government to build what's known as Dubai Loop, which is going to have 17 underground stations that's going to link all that area, which is going to be a transportation system. So where you have any area where infrastructure is being spent or developed is definitely an area that's going to go up. And a studio there, I think you'd be hard pressed to get it for 600. I think it'd probably be nearer 800 to 900,000. But definitely that's an area to look at. JVC is a great area, but there are so many different developers and quite saturated in some respects. So that's also a good area, but I would look at Jumeirah Garden City.
I think, Mario, just to add on to that, it's a very good point that you brought. Jumeirah Garden City today is what JVC was in 2022.
Yeah.
JVC 2021, 2022 was trading at around 800 to 900 dirhams per square foot. Today, right now, they trade at around 1350 to 1650 dirhams per square foot. So JVC as an area has definitely matured. It's a great community. I think half of our office people and our workforce lives in JVC. They rent in JVC because it's very close to our business park where we have our Allegiance headquarters in Dubai. So yeah, Jumeirah Garden City, great recommendation, Mario. Mario, I think we have
Yeah.
a very good question here from Rosie Stephen. Um, I'm assuming what it mentions is if the regional conflict escalates further, particularly closer to the UAE borders, what is your contingency assessment for property liquidity? How quickly could a foreign investor exit that position? Well, what I'm trying to understand, Rosie, there will be two scenarios to your question. It depends upon what kind of a property have you bought into. Have you bought into an under construction property with a payment plan for, let's say, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years? Or you've bought a complete ready asset for which you have already paid 100% of the property value. So let's discuss scenario one. In a scenario one where you've bought, let's say, into an under construction asset, and let's say you bought in year one and it gets ready in year four. Now, if you are in year two, how soon can you exit? And let's say you're 40% deep into the investment. So it again comes down to the developer that you have invested in. If you have invested in tier one developers with super prime locations, the liquidity is very high. Anybody, maybe you might not get your premium on your property or the capital growth on your property, but you can always get your capital back. Now, to name a few developers like this, definitely MR, the giants who built the Burj Khalifa, the iconic downtown Dubai Mall, then Dubai Holding, which built basically the Bulgari Islands, the Palm Jumeirah, Blue Waters Island, City Walk. I mean, these are certain developers which are totally government backed, and investing with a government developer is always very safe. The reason is because they are the ones who decide the policies. They are the ones who decide the roads. They are the ones who decide the entire infrastructure of the city. So obviously, they are bound to have one of the best and iconic locations. I mean, tomorrow, if any other private developer wants to go and build an island on the coast of Dubai, like Palm Jumeirah, can they do that? For sure, no, because it's the government that decides. So in terms of investing with government developers, your position is always safe. If you are a local investor or a foreign investor, I think you can exit at any time. Maybe depending upon how stressed the market is, if the stress is low, you can definitely exit at a good premium. If the stress is high on the market, then you can always exit at the original price because there will always be institutional buyers to buy in the times when there is uncertainty because they're always sitting on cash. So I hope that answers your question. Mario, do you want to take another one?
Chinoy, two wants to. She's raised her hand, or he has raised his hand. Can you let him in?
Okay, let me check. I think I am. I think Ahmed has to help us here. Ahmed, if you could let Nu Tuhi could speak. Maybe they want to speak.
In the meantime, I want to answer very quickly a couple of questions. Toy Cohen, if a total amount of properties total 2 million, does that count towards a 10-year visa? Yes, correct. You can have multiple properties as long as you've got 2 million dirhams invested, it will attract the 2 million the visa. However, if you've got 10 of them and they add up to 2 million and you want to sell one, you will lose the golden visa. If I buy a property, say for 1 million and it increases in value to 2 million, can I get a golden visa? Currently, no. The property has to be 2 million at the moment, not that it goes up to 2 million. However, I think in the future, there is a possibility that that might happen. But of course, that's a 100% increase. So, that was something to look at. But Akshay, unfortunately, the answer to your question at the moment would be no. Um, has has
I think I have
Ahmed
a
left?
question here.
Yeah,
I have a question here. How difficult or how smooth is the process for a US citizen to invest in Dubai real estate who only has a passport? Are there
yeah.
any specific requirements for documentation that needs to be done beforehand? For example, international business requirement, foreign bank account, temporary residences for development purposes, etc. So, in order to answer your question, Ricky Thompson Jr. asked this question. It's a pretty straightforward process. I mean, all you need to buy a property in UAE is a passport and money, and that's it. So it's just to answer your question, it's that simple. You do not need a visa to acquire a property in UAE. In fact, once you buy a property in UAE, you get the UAE Golden Visa, which Mario was talking about. Mario, on the point of UAE Golden Visa, I would just like to also tell all our viewers right now that every emirate in UAE has a different pricing of their golden visa and a different process of acquiring the golden visa. But the underlying factor always remains the same. It's a 2 million dirham property. If it's an under construction property, you have to pay the 20% down. Your SPA, which is the sales and purchase agreement, needs to be signed and submitted to the RERA authority, which is the local municipality office. So for Dubai, the process is pretty different. In Ras Al Khaimah, for example, when you have to acquire a golden visa, you require an additional document, which is called an NOC from the developer, which is called a no objection certificate, which is a pretty easy document. Your realtor can always help you and guide you on how to acquire that document. Rest, everything else remains the same.
Can
There
I
was
just quickly touch on Mohammed Asim? He says, do I need to
hmm,
invest the full 2 million up front to qualify for long-term residency visa? You've touched on it just now, Chinoy. No. In the past, you did have to pay at least 1 million of the 2 million to qualify. Now, especially if you buy an off-plan property, you can actually start the golden visa process, assuming the property is 2 million dirhams or above, as soon as you've paid your 20% plus four. So technically speaking, you only have to be sort of 20% of the value plus the 4% accrued fee. You can actually start the visa process. Are there
I
any
see
US
a
banks? It says here, are there
yeah.
US banks that can lend to buy properties in Dubai for US investors? Well, Standard Chartered, is that a US bank?
Well, I think for to buy a property in the in UAE, any US bank can give you a loan against your assets into
Correct, in America.
into your in America into your bank account as cash. So you can borrow against your home, let's say, from your US bank and keep that money in your bank account liquid and then pay for a property in UAE. But the direct purpose of buying a property in UAE, I'm not too sure as of today any bank allows that. Maybe if there have been any changes in rules and regulations, please do check with your bank. As of last year, 2025, it was very clear from all the major banks, Citibank Global, Standard Chartered, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, they do not allow foreign lending for assets
Correct,
in a foreign country.
correct, correct. Um,
Um,
what else? Toy Cohen, do they do credit checks?
yeah,
I
so I
assume
think
for,
he's asking you on the reply that you have given him for the two properties, total 2 million.
well, the credit check is it's from the title deed. That's the only that's the only criteria, the title deed. So that's all. What was the other thing here? It said, um, if my building gets damaged due to war, is there any insurance company policy process to cover damages and to protect my investment? I have to say, from a personal point of view, I don't think either myself nor Chinoy are actually qualified to answer that question because we don't know necessarily what's in every single buildings insurance policy as regards to, war damage. I would imagine it is somewhere deep in the small print that in the event of damage due to war, it will then state whether it is or it isn't covered. But again,
There is
it's about responsibility, isn't it? You'd have to find someone who is responsible. And right now, when it's war, who do you point that to? Point it, to the person that's fired the missile, or you point it out the whole situation. I think it's a bit of a minefield there. What do you think, Chinoy?
I think, Mario, this is something, I think you're answering Joydub's question, right? So to answer Joydub's question, if my
Yes.
building gets, yeah, okay. So in regards to that, Joydub, the first thing that you should be doing in a scenario like this, you should be speaking with your realtor so that he can help you to get in touch with the developer and get you the insurance documents because there are two types of insurances that a developer does. One is by themselves, which is not a very standard practice in this market. Only the tier one developers do that, like MR, Dubai Holding, and government backed developers would do that by themselves. But usually, private developers, if you're bought into a private development, private developers put the insurance on the heads of the contractors that they appoint to build their project. So, on the contractor, you can always get in touch with your developer and they can tell you that there are two types of insurances that they have, which is called contractors insurance and contractors all risk insurance, which is usually called the car insurance. In the car insurance, the all risk insurance, the war damage is also covered. The natural calamity damage is also covered by insurance companies. But then again, I mean, if there is a natural calamity and God forbid if a tsunami was to come, then everything is wiped out. Even the insurance company is wiped out. So I'm not too sure how does that thing
That's why
can
I'm
affect.
saying I don't think we're
Yeah,
really too qualified to dig deep too much.
correct,
I think
correct.
if we can just do the last question with David, because it's already
Yeah.
8:15, and obviously attendees are leaving. As you mentioned, Jumeirah Garden City, can you compare that to Creek Harbour? Is that a newer up and coming area? Personally speaking, you can't compare Jumeirah Garden City to Creek Harbour. Creek Harbour, first of all, it's a master developer, Imar. Jumeirah Garden City is going to be many different developers, so everyone will have to abide by the rules and regulations of the master developer, which would be Dubai Holdings. However, in terms of the design, that's up to them. You've Creek Harbour has got water. Uh, Jumeirah Garden City is not far from the beach, but it's inland. So I think from the two, you can't really compare them. If you're talking about up and coming areas, you can compare purely and simply about what's going to be spent in that location or near to that location, which will drive capital appreciation. And by that, I mean, a transportation links. It already has access to 3 metro stations. It is, as the crow flies, less than 2 kilometers, or 2 kilometers, I would say, from, DIFC and the financial center. And the Dubai Loop is going to link up downtown, Business Bay, DIFC, and indeed Jumeirah Garden City. So for all those reasons, I'm saying that would be a target, if you like, for capital appreciation. But in terms of comparing them, I think Creek Harbour is an amazing project. It will have potentially one of the tallest structures in the world when Emaar finally decide to actually build it in the Emaar Tower, the plaza there. It's going to have a huge mall, indoor mall that you can drive cars in. I mean, it's just going to be so futuristic. It's amazing, and that's the beauty about Dubai. If I can just say, every single area will have something that separates it from the next, even down to the malls. You've got an indoor ski slope in Mall of the Emirates. You've got an indoor ice rink in Dubai Mall, which is one of the world's biggest malls. So everywhere you look in Dubai, and indeed now Abu Dhabi, we didn't really touch much on Yas Island and Disney coming to Dubai, entertainment, everything is pointing to, once we get through this situation that we're in, it's full steam ahead. Right now, we're in, second gear or third gear. We're going to go back up to fifth and sixth gear when this is all over. So, look, it's just gone 8:15. I think we'll wrap this up. In terms of getting in touch with us, we would love to hear from you. I think there's going to be a link sent to you, to each and every one of you. If you would like to have a more one-to-one session, we're very happy to organize this going forward. I see there's lots of interest, and I'm sure there'd be other questions. If we weren't down to time constraints, we could actually answer more questions. So I just want to say thank you very much for all of those of you who did attend. It's been a pleasure hosting this. Chinoy, I'm sure you've enjoyed it too. It's actually been a lot better than I thought. So thank you for the interaction. And as I say, look out for the I think emails that will be coming your way with links that you can then reach out to us. Chinoy, if you'd like to wrap it up, I would just say goodbye. I've been Mario Volpi. Thank you and good night.
Thank you so much, everyone who took out time and joined us today. It was an amazing session of back and forth Q&As. I think we had more than 50 questions being asked, and that just goes to show within us as 60, 70 attendees that how strong the interest is from all the parts of the world. So thank you again, everyone, and feel free to reply to the email that you will receive. I'm here, Chinoy Kapoor, Vice President of Luxury Sales at Allegiance. Me and my team will definitely get in touch with you and make sure that we are able to guide you and build your successful property portfolios going forward. And as Mario said, watch out. I would say watch out that Dubai is coming back. See you soon and have a good night.
Thank you. Good night. Have a great day.